Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome to really one of the most thrilling and most exciting games from the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz chess tournament in 2024. Let's repeat again, Alireza FIrouzja won the event with a clear result. Alireza was simply the best player, and again congratulations for Alireza for winning this tournament. This game that I wanted to show you now is from the rapid section. It's Alireza against Hikaru in rapid chess, 25 minutes on the clock plus 10 seconds increment per move. And the best part I think about this game is that it covers everything. It covers again great opening theory, great middle game planning, middle game tactics, middle game strategies, but also very important endgame ideas. So in my opinion, really one of the best chess games from the St. Louis Rapid and Blitz chess tournament for sure. So let's dive now into the game with the white pieces. Alireza opened with the move e4. We have e6 by Hikaru, the French defense, d4, d5, and now the advanced variation with the move e5. Hikaru is putting more pressure against this pawn. Alireza supports, of course, this pawn, keeps now the healthy pawn chain here, and of course, Hikaru continues the pressure against the d4 weakness. We have now knight to f3, queen to b6, normal stuff for a French defense player to put more pressure against this d4 pawn. We have now the main line with a3, trying to play the move b4 and basically searching for a clarification here on the queen side by pushing the pawn to b4. White will, I think, simplify the game enough if b4 happens, and now Hikaru plays a very interesting sideline, the so-called Lputian variation, which is really tricky because many of us, I think, would try something like this. Bishop takes h6, would try, of course, to mess up the pawn structure with g takes a6 here by black, but now black doesn't have to pick up the bishop immediately, can play queen takes b2, and then if you try something like knight to d2, now you pick up the piece, and now after something like this, you're continuing the game with the bishop pair, c5 weak, e5 weak, good dark square bishop all over the board. Maybe the king is a little bit stuck in the center, but I think a great player like Hikaru would solve this position for sure. So that's why after knight to h6, Alireza keeps it calm, plays bishop to d3, anticipates the possibility of knight to f5. We have c takes d4, and now Alireza spices up the game immediately. Doesn't take out, of course, the pawn. He can take the pawn, it's also playable, but he plays now a riskier line with kingside castle, which is now really the most aggressive way to play now the French defense from White's perspective. And here, what should you do? If you play now d takes c3, seems tempting, then knight to c3, still black is solid, but what you should not do is now allow here the move bishop to h6. If you allow now, it's a different story. It's not the same position like the previous one because after potential queen takes b2, black is lost. Bishop takes g7 would come, then rook to g8, and now with knight to a4, actually the queen gets trapped. The queen doesn't have good squares. You would have to play something like, I don't know, maybe somewhere with the queen sacrificing, or I don't know, but the queen doesn't have any escape squares. Game over here for black for sure. So that's why for kingside castling, bishop to d7 here by Hikaru, b4. Again, a great attacking move by Alireza. The position is always about equal here. Hikaru didn't make any mistakes, but I think here with this line, Alireza FIrouzja is asking many questions here for Hikaru. b4, rook to c8, and now b5, which becomes actually a theoretical novelty. Believe me or not, Alireza pulled off many great novelties in this event, so it means that he probably was thinking that it's a very important tournament. He showed us here really great new ideas, great attacking chances, and now there are two choices for black. You can play knight to a5 or knight to e7, and knight to a5, for instance, the engine suggests that you should play that it should be slightly better, but it leads into a complicated line. I'm not really sure how much of this theory both of them know. Probably Alireza knows more because he played now this b5 move immediately. Now after something like knight to d4 in the game, Hikaru tried knight to e7, but let's see now really tricky stuff of the French defense. Then after knight to d4, you're trying bishop to c5, then bishop to e3, you're covering here the knight, and then after something like knight to f5, the game becomes really tricky after bishop to f5 and something like knight to d2, and then you can play something like e6. You centralize your bishop on d4, and the game becomes really open, very tough to play, I think, for both sides, opposite color bishops, but with many opportunities. So, but the engine suggests, for instance, this line that both players should play, and the engine gives here again equal chances now for both sides. But Hikaru played knight to e7, which is also perfectly fine. You have a great grip around the square f5, but now after knight to d4. The problem is after knight to f5 that here Alireza pushes the pawn further and will of course also attack now the queen with the move a5. That's exactly what happened. Here we have knight takes d4, and you see Alireza immediately creates spaces on the queen side, has this beautiful intermediate attack against the queen. The queen has to now drop back to c5, and now bishop to a3. Look at this, how Alireza is keeping the attacking flow. It's not allowing here so far Hikaru Nakamura to breathe. So that's why he has to play here knight to e2, at least giving up the knight in a different way. We have queen takes e2, queen to c7, and now bishop to b2. And now white is better here with the possibility to finally play the move c4. If that happens, rook to c1, then c4, then you could really crack open the position, especially on the c file. Black has a tough time to connect the rooks. Bishop is also a little bit inactive here, so very tough now for black to develop the pieces on the optimal square. So Hikaru tries bishop to e7, tries of course the kingside castle. Knight to d2, we have now castling, and now c4. That's a good move for Alireza because this backward pawn on c3 was, I think, the main structural weakness in white's position, and now Alireza simply improves it. D takes c4, bishop to c4, and now rook from f to d8. And here maybe Hikaru had the chance to immediately cement the knight on f5, which is always a good move for black in the French defense. Then after something like rook to c1, you can escape. Knight to e4, maybe you have a weakness on d6, but I don't think that in any of these lines white would push the pawn on g4, at least not immediately, because you expose yourself too much. The knight to h4 could happen, and you could face many weaknesses in front of the king. So that's why knight to f5 I think was very important for Hikaru, at least to hold the position and also to activate the knight in the center of the board. But okay, he played rook from f to d8. Alireza continues with rook from f to c1. The queen is endangered. Hikaru has to escape, and you see that Hikaru is a little bit passive with his pieces. Many pieces are not so well placed. The rooks are also passive, bishop's passive. So here much better position for Alireza FIrouzja. Knight to f3 here by Alireza FIrouzja, and now comes knight to f5, finally by Hikaru Nakamura. Bishop to d3, hitting the knight, and now comes another mistake here by Hikaru Nakamura. He played now the move bishop to f8, and you see now the move that we have talked about previously, this move g4, that we couldn't play because the bishop was there, and then knight to h4 could happen, actually now is working for white, because now the bishop is not covering anymore the square. So here g4 would be the optimal move for Alireza. Unfortunately for him, he didn't play this move, but I wanted to really show you what kind of a chance Alireza had here already in the game after move g4. There are now several options. You can play, of course, first of all, rook to c1. Rook to c1 will release the pressure, but the problem is now if you try something like knight to e7 to retreat, then there is a problem with the Greek give tactic. You can immediately play bishop takes h7, and look at this, the game would be over. Here knight to g5, you're getting the queen here, you're exposing the king further. The king is trying to escape. You just attack it, you attack it again, forcing it, of course, to get to our side of the board. You get the rook into the game, because now here after queen to d3 it would be game over. It's just one line, but I wanted to show you the possibility of this Greek give tactic. And the issue is now, you see, because of this passive setup by black, bishop on d7 standing in the way of the rook, actually even this kind of tactics are working. So here, instead of this move knight to e7, you could maybe try here knight to h6, which is much better. But then with h3, the problem again here for black is that you're getting paralyzed. You're getting simply neutralized by white's activity. You're trying finally to liberate maybe the d file, but then bishop to d4, white centralizes the bishop. You're trying to do something like this, then we threaten checkmate. You're trying g6, and then we paralyze black's position further with the move a6. And I'm not seeing really here good continuation anymore for Hikaru. Even if you leave maybe here the protection, there's always a imagine just this position maybe without the queen there, maybe somewhere there is always the problem of bishop takes b6, a takes b6, and then pushing the pawn further. So as I said, very tricky line it would have been if Alireza would have played the move g4, but unfortunately for him, he tried h4, and this is not good. Gives here Hikaru again chances to get back into the game. We have bishop to e8. Again, Hikaru is finally trying to liberate his rooks. He's trying to get in some kind of an activity with his pieces, and now bishop to f5, another maybe not good move here by Alireza, simplifying the game, simply giving up the bishop for knight, and actually the position is about equal again. So Alireza had a great chance to maybe even destroy Hikaru, but now let's see this beautiful endgame. After bishop to f5, e takes f5, e6. Alireza had this idea in mind, which is also perfectly fine, which is again forcing a reaction, at least by Hikaru Nakamura. Alireza keeps the attacking flow, but he missed the line. He has a better activity and he's trying now to open the position. We have rook to c1. Again, Hikaru releases the pressure. Rook to c1. We have queen to d6 and now knight to g5. Again, Alireza is keeping the pressure here against Black's king. F takes e6, queen to e6, and after queen to e6, knight to e6, we have a rook to d2, attacking the bishop. And you see now, Hikaru gets out. Hikaru gets finally some kind of an activity. His pieces are breathing in again. So good now counterplay also by Hikaru Nakamura. Bishop to d4. We have bishop to d7. Now counter attack by Alireza, hitting the rook, and now rook to d3. Knight takes f8, and after king takes f8, we have now reached the opposite colored bishops endgame, in which I think we can agree 99% of any players would play a draw here. But this is speed chess, this is different chess, this is rapid chess. Many mistakes can happen, and actually already in the next move, after move a6 that Alireza played, which is a good move, Hikaru didn't react correctly. He played now the move b6, and that's now a huge mistake. A better choice is immediately to take b takes a6, then we pick up this one, and you're trying, of course, bishop to b5. You can get checked, but we simply pick up this one. Probably you lose this one, and I'm not sure how white is going to win this game. I don't think that Hikaru would lose in any of these lines now, this particular position. But after move a6, he made a huge blunder with b6 and allowed here Alireza a different line. Now he played now rook to c7, and now it's a different story. You can take now the pawn on b5. Now, of course, Alireza takes out now the pawn on a7, but it's a different story because white has here much better activity. The king is exposed, the bishop will come into the game. There is also a problem around the square g7. You'll see now in the next couple of moves that it's simply a different kind of an endgame. Although this is again an opposite colored bishop's endgame, but with a completely better activity here for white. Hikaru is of course battling rook to a3. Alireza has this intermediate check and pushes the pawn further. Now the pawn is very advanced, and it's almost completely winning here this endgame for Alireza FIrouzja. What should you do? If you try here bishop to c6 from Black's perspective, then there's this problem. Rook to c8, we attack the piece, then we attack the king, and the problem is now, as I said, you could get destroyed here around the square g7. That's also the issue here. You escape, and now rook to g7, you're trying to push the pawn further, you can lose another pawn. So now with two extra pawns, all of this is an opposite color bishop's endgame. Still, I think completely winning here for white. So huge mistake, this move b6 by Hikaru. a7 here, as we said, by Alireza. Rook to a6, bishop takes b6. Great move here by Alireza, because if you try rook to b6, then rook to b8, then there's nothing that can be done. You lose the game, because if you pick up the rook, then there is the promotion. If you go here, of course, then we simply push the pawn further, and it's of course if we promote the queen, and it's of course game over. So that's why after bishop to b6, Hikaru tried to battle with bishop to c6. Now we have rook to c8 by Alireza. Great move again. Rook takes b6, but even if you try bishop to d5, then rook to c7, again with the same problems. We simply get our bishop here, or we can also maybe go for this pawn, but again white is holding the 7th rank, and many pawns are there again. Completely winning endgame here for white. After rook to c8, Hikaru tried rook takes b6, but now Alireza plays, of course, rook takes c6 here. You cannot take because of the promotion. Hikaru goes behind, and now he's trying again to hold this position with his rook, but now rook to c7. We have king to f6, and now king to g3. We have reached now this endgame, in which Alireza needs now to bring the king, of course, somehow to this pawn and simply promote it. So it's now his main plan. We have rook to a4. We have king to f3, f4, king to e2. Alireza is going closely to the rook here. And now from g5, of course, Alireza takes, h takes g5, and now king to g5, king to c3. The king is getting closer and closer. h4 by Hikaru, king to b3. We have rook to a1, and now f3. Simply keeping everything compact here, not allowing this king to march towards this pawn. Great move also here by Alireza FIrouzja. And now Hikaru plays h3. Sacrifices another pawn just in order to somehow get his king somewhere here to get finally the pawns. Maybe better is to play king to f6, but then still the king is marching, and again it would be game over here for black. After f3 and h3, Alireza simply took. Hikaru goes towards his pawn, but now great move by Alireza. This move I really liked. Rook to g7. You can take your pawn on h3, but you cannot really play anymore with your king through the whole game. Really stunning stuff. King takes h3, rook king to b4. We have now rook to a2, and now king to b5. Alireza marches, of course, with the king. Gets, of course, the king here. Again, a couple of checks by Hikaru. King to d7, rook to a2, and now here Alireza gets the king very close. King to h6, attacking now the rook. Rook drops back, and now after rook to a4, rook to b6, we have rook to h5, rook to b7. Again, Hikaru has to do something, and now after rook to d7, rook to a2, and king to f4 in this particular position, Hikaru Nakamura resigns. So what's the issue? Of course, there are now 2 pawns on the board extra here for Alireza FIrouzja, and you cannot do anything about this. The king is also far away from the action, so completely busted position here for Hikaru Nakamura. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas of the French defense. Great attack by Alireza, but that he almost messed it up by not finding maybe the optimal aggressive solutions, but then again a deserved win. I think he played much better here in this game against Hikaru Nakamura. So okay, if you want to see some other games that we have covered from this event, check out our coverage. Here are some games that we have analyzed before, and if you like this content, hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.